Welcome to the Strategy Sherpa Show, a series of organic discussions between hosts David Chavez and a variety of notable business leaders centered around their most significant failures and how they handled those challenges, so listeners can learn from their most teachable moments and apply the lessons to their organizations. Now, here's your host, David Chavez.
Hello, everybody. This is David Chavez. This is the Strategy Sherpa Show, and we have a great guest for us today. I will introduce Brad in just a moment, but I wanted to remind everybody on this show, we don't talk about how great we are and give you a lot of fluff and a lot of silliness about how great we are. What we're doing is talking about mistakes we've made in our business. And I say that with a grain of salt, because it's not easy growing a company, and we make a lot of mistakes out there. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of business leaders get caught up in those mistakes instead of understanding mistakes are part of the game of growth. And we discuss those mistakes, and then we give you context of what was why we decided what we decided at that time. And then what we do is we go in and explain to you how we fixed it. So not only do we talk about the mistake, we talk about context, because that's a lot of it makes it a little bit different in the sense of we're trying to help you understand our thinking at the time, because at the time we thought our decision was a great decision. We never go intentionally doing the wrong decision, and then give it a little context, and then we give a little bit about how we fixed whatever happened. So that's the Strategy Sherpa Show. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about Assured Strategy and what we're doing. So on December the 6th, we have a Scaling Up workshop in Dallas. That is almost sold out. I think we have 2 tickets left, just the room size and everything. We have 2 tickets left on that. And so if you're interested, get on assuredstrategy.com/events, and you can sign up for that. That's in Dallas on this Wednesday. And then on the 14th, we have a webinar, and it's about our processes. Say I have to, and then whatever it is that they're going to get into, but they're going to get into a little bit about how do you use processes and how to make them more effective in your company and hold people accountable on them. So that's Preston Law, our new process coach here at Assured Strategy. One I've been working with for probably about 7 or 8 years. He is actually one of our clients at one time. So let's just go ahead and introduce Brad, because he's sitting there waiting patiently to tell his story. So Brad, welcome to the show.
Yeah, good morning, David. Thanks for having me.
Why don't you tell everybody, because you and I met probably is about 5 or 6 years ago now, right? It's quite a while ago. So I know it's a couple of years before the old COVID came into play. It's probably about 2018. And we met through, I was brought in by your previous CEO, right? Rod, and he brought me into the company to help you guys. And then you guys made a transition. Now you're the CEO. And why don't you tell a little bit about the company and what you're doing?
Yeah. I'm happy to. And good memory of not all of us can put together things that happened pre-COVID, but that's exactly right. We got a chance to connect 5-6 years ago. I'm with the Partners Group, and the Partners Group is a little over 200 employees in the Pacific Northwest. And we are an insurance brokerage firm. And what that means is we help employers and individuals. On the employer side, we help put together employee benefit packages. We have a dedicated wellness team. We do a lot of work with self-funded healthcare. We have a data and analytics team to help provide insights to make sure our customers are making wise decisions. In that employee benefit space, we help our customers with their 401k plans, and then also our commercial insurance. So if you've got halls, walls, buildings, trucks, fleets, delivery, Officer liability, any of those items, we take care of those on the commercial side. And then on the individual side, we help people with their home, auto, umbrella. We've got a team of about 30 people that focus on that. And then we have a wealth management department. So we help our high net worth clients make sure that they're planning appropriately for retirement and making sure they've got the suite of life and disability products to put bumpers around their car, if you will, as they accumulate wealth and plan for retirement. So we have offices in Seattle, Washington, Portland, Oregon, Bend, Oregon, and Boise, Idaho. We're a company that's grown organically, double digits each year. We started the firm back in 1995 and have successfully, through double-digit growth and strategic little acquisitions, become about a $60 million a year revenue shop. So thanks for asking.
Yeah, and just so people know, the Partners Group is headquartered just outside of Portland, and Brad, you guys have won so many best place to work awards. I mean, your company is really a model for other companies to follow. Wouldn't you say that?
Well, the first thing I'd say is you got to give an awful lot of credit to the people that came before you, right? It takes generations of leaders with a common vision to get you where you are. And so I'm just super blessed to have started with the company 9 years ago, had a chance to witness it, see it, work with different business units on my way to the current position. To your point, we developed something that we refer to as our flywheel. And I'll see David's face because this is something that his team teaches. And we had a flywheel back in 1995 that my predecessor built, but we didn't know it was a flywheel. And in the spirit of a flywheel, something has to start in one spot and continue to increase velocity and almost make it automatic. Well, the first rung on our flywheel is to be an employer of choice. And so what that means to us is if we focus on hiring great people, taking great care of them, that in turn turns into delighted clients. If we have delighted clients, we create profit. If we create profit, we can invest in systems. If we can invest in systems to automate and scale our business, we can give back to the community. And we are a purpose-driven organization. And our purpose is to make a difference in the communities in which we work and inspire others to do the same. And so tactically, what that looks like is we take the first 20% of our net profit every year and give half to our employees, and the other half goes into the community. So the trophy case is pretty full for the last 15 years of best places to work, healthiest place to work, most philanthropic place to work, and a top quartile big I insurance in our space of companies that do it the right way.
That's just outstanding, Brad. I'm really in admiration of your company because you guys are such a purpose-driven organization. And I think you're a great example for people to follow of really living your purpose and really bringing it to the forefront of the company. And you guys have done it in such a simple way. You just drive simple messages in the organization and in the community. And it's really brought you to where you're at now. And I give you guys a lot of credit because a lot of companies cannot transition CEOs and be as successful as you guys has continued to be. And I know that you're going to transition again in time. And I know you're setting that up already and probably already making progress on that. And I just think it's wonderful. You work with one of my partners, Ted Servata, right now, and Kane Pekovic, my other partner, on what they're doing for you. And you and I got to work together the first 2 years. And I think it's just great what you guys have done and how you've evolved the company and how you're just continuing to grow it with that purpose in mind. And I think the difference between a lot of companies saying they're community driven and actually doing something about it, 10% says a lot. So, it does a lot of good for the community too, right? I mean, you're really impacting lives out there. And I know you from being at the company, you guys volunteer too. Your time. I know you have big groups of people going at one time and volunteering. So not only is it your money, it's also a lot of the people's time in the organization.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we allocate one full day a quarter to each employee to go out and volunteer, and we tend to volunteer in a pack. So we have set up several employee resource groups. So we have a fun committee. We have an emerging professional committee for those people in our organization that are typically under age 30, getting started in their career. And we have our volunteer committee. And the committee sets up 5 or 6 opportunities every month for teams of people to get together and go give back.
That's great. And the partners group, if I was going to describe the partner group to somebody and I was talking to a business leader, I would tell them it's a one-stop shop for all your investments and insurance needs that you have as a business as well as an individual. So you guys have a very holistic approach. You don't just protect the executives, you protect the company, the executives, the employees. You're trying to protect everybody underneath that realm. Isn't that a fair way of describing your company?
Yeah, David, it is. One of the things that we learned along our journey, right, starting back in 95, we started in one area. And what became very obvious to us is that the mid-market employers, say you have 100 to 1,000 employees, they're really good at doing what they do. The legislative changes, the uniqueness, the threading the right needle, putting together the right packages. What they wanted to do is work with a trusted, independent financial advisor. And what they want is when they think insurance, risk, employee wellness, they want to make one phone call. They want to have relationships at the C-suite and take care of everything that they have versus going out to 6, 7, 8 different organizations. So really our secret sauce is our one partner advantage. We have a way to bring all those expertises together and actually help somebody across the spectrum. So we can sit down with a CFO, head of HR, risk manager, bring everybody together, lay out the strategy for the next 3 years, and check each one of the boxes to make sure that we're working in tandem. So yeah, as we've grown, we continue to add divisions based on employers' requests. And you do one of those, you get good at it, takes 5 or 6 years, and then you add to that team. Then you add another one, you build it over 5 to 6 years, and then you've got a core competency in that space. And so that has been the strategy for the last 25 years.
Yeah, so we're going to take a break and we'll be right back after this. And then we'll talk a little bit about the issue that you're going to share with us today. So thank you, Brad. And I look forward to continuing our conversation in just a few moments. This is a Strategy Sherpa show. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Strategy Sherpa Show with David Chavez. Have a question for David or his guests? Join us on the show at 866-472-5790. That's 866-472-5790. Now, back to the show.
Everybody, this is David Chavez. This is the Strategy Sherpa Show, and we have Brad Nantz with us with the Partners Group out of Portland, Oregon, but Portland, Seattle, Boise, and you said one more city.
Central Oregon, Bend, Oregon is our 4th location.
Bend, Oregon. How did I forget Bend? Out of all because Bend's such an amazing place. I mean, if you've never really been to Bend, Oregon, you should go there once in your life at least. It's just really a cool place. Is that a fair comment?
No, it's gorgeous. Yeah, if you love the outdoors, if you love scenery, if you love just being part of nature, that's a place for you.
Yes, it's just beautiful there. It's amazing. So let's get into it a little bit. I wanted to talk a little bit about your issue that you wanted to share with everyone, the thing that you sort of jacked up or messed up in your in the evolution of the company, because not all of it's been smooth sailing. You know, I know you guys have done very well, but you've made some mistakes along the way. So
Yeah, I know we've only got a few minutes together, so clearly my list of mistakes are a lot longer than my lists of successes. But you know, here's what I tell you. This is probably a common theme. Instead of focusing on the one, you know, we went right when we should have gone left, and we went right based on good intentions, good spirit, reading the tea leaves, but the world changed on us. The strategy didn't work. Here's what I want to talk about. We didn't know what we didn't know. And as we sat around, again, earlier I said, the people that came before you set the stage. And I have to give a ton of credit to my predecessor to have the insight 5-6 years ago with our growth trajectory to say, we are entering a new evolutionary period, going from 100 employees to 200 employees is radically different. And historically, there's failure points with companies, valleys of death, and you have to retool and rethink about the company to go to the next level. So in the spirit of, we were successful, we hired good people, we grew faster than the industry, and we just made the best next decision. We took a pause and we really said, what we really need to do is figure out where we want to be in 10 years. And then we need to back into what do we need to do along that journey. So the very first thing we did is collectively got together as a group, and we committed to getting together for 2 days each quarter. So we met 8 days off-site a year. And we started with a big, hairy, audacious goal. And we rumbled with it and we wrestled with it. And we said, all right, well, we know we want to double in size each 5 years. So 10 years out, that means we'll be 4 times as big. Let's live with that for a little bit. Let's wrestle with that. So now we're 400 employees and we're over 100 million of revenue. What does that look like? And then we needed to find a way to message it. And we said, well, as a purpose-driven company, let's back into our giving. And if we give 20% of our net profit, we set a goal to give back $30 million to our employees and the community by the year 2030. We lived with that for a few quarters and played around with the wording. And now everywhere, every employee knows that Give 30 is our strategy. Check that box. Next thing we need to do is, go ahead, Dave.
And before you go on, let me just capture this really quickly, because I really love how you just articulated that, and it's probably the best I've ever had interviewed somebody on, and they've spouted it back to me. So you guys had to spend some time with it, because I know you had a little bit different of a BHAG right at first that you were working with. And then you ended up settling on 30 million to employees and the community. And you sort of did that by looking at about 100 million in revenue. And so you're tying it back to the thing that really motivates you, because I think a lot of BHAGs out there, as I'm seeing them inside of companies, the people inside of the company aren't attached to the BHAG. A lot of times, maybe 1 or 2 executives are, or major shareholders are, but not the whole company. And the whole company needs to be tied to the BHAG, because it needs to reinforce your business fundamentals, Jim Collins says, the creator of the BHAG. And I love that BHAG and how you guys ended up settling on this really profound statement that's really driving what you're doing on a year-to-year basis. So I don't want to take away from that. I just wanted to state that. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think the thing I'd offer up to others that are on a similar journey is make sure your BHAG, that every single person can say it and it resonates with your purpose. It's too easy to say profit per X, using a math formula that inspires about 10% of your organization. So find your thing, find your DNA, and put a BHAG that resonates with your people.
Yeah, I love how you said 10% too, because money isn't a motivator for probably 80 to 90% of the people in the company, and people think it is. It's just not. And you guys have really discovered that. And I know how many people you have volunteering for all these little things that come up for charities and how much you're involved in communities. So I just think it's outstanding. So let's get back to your story. So you set a BHAG.
Yeah. So in the spirit of, okay, now we know where we're going, how are we going to get there? And we'd always had core values that were somewhat loose. So we spent a full year rumbling with core values. And we looked at books and we looked at examples and we did focus groups and we pulled stuff together. And our very first one, we started with, don't be a knucklehead. Like, be a person everybody wants to work with. And we played with that. And we ended up with, play well with others. And from there, we said, all right, well, what else do we like about our employees? Well, we'll be curious. Ask good questions. Assume positive intent. Be a champion. Make sure that everybody in the formula wins. Own it. Do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. And then finally, have fun and live well. So as we wrestled with those and wordsmithed them, we painted the walls with them. So every one of our offices has it. It's in all our marketing material. If you had a website, it's there. We even went so far as to take our core values and put them into our interview questions. And so now when we're interviewing people, they need to know play well with others is our number one core value. And if you don't like to interact with people, if you'd rather just work remotely and just never, ever have to interact with people, this isn't going to be a place you're going to have a lot of fun. So we're going to tell you that right up front. The second thing that we found with core values is anytime we have to do coaching with people, we use those to say, hey, here's a situation where you didn't really come into an environment curious. It seemed to me like you came into a discussion with a preconceived idea and tried to sell your idea through the whole process. Now, if you were more curious, could we have gotten to a better spot, right? And it allows you to not only interview, but to coach and then reward. So each quarter, we identify things that people did right, and we have a Play Well with Other award, Be Curious award. And so you really need to take those core values and bring them to life. You know, I don't know if people see this, but we even print them on a business card and put them on the back of our phones so that we know what they look like.
Yeah. So you're using that as a little bit of motivation to keep everybody focused on the core values. That's great. So you had your BHAG, you had your core values, you have your purpose. So what ended up happening with all of that?
Yeah. So it was met with quite a bit of fanfare. We're now, 4 or 5 years into our journey. It is now common language. We meet with all our employees every quarter. We get a chance to reinforce it. And then now that we knew where we had to get, we knew the behaviors we wanted to exhibit as leaders and employees, the next thing we had to do is start putting 3-year business plans in place. And so we adopted this thought process of what are the 3 thrusts that you need to lean into over the next 3 years. And one of the things that every business leader, I think, is challenged with is there is infinite desire to make a list of 20 things you want to do, and there's finite resources, money, time, and people to get them done. So while you heard me say you really should pick 3 thrusts, we couldn't even resist ourselves. We end up with 5. And what we do with those 5 thrusts is say, at a high level, these are the areas of the organization that we want to make better, that we want to improve processes on, that we want to delight more clients in, that we want to grow in. And then we share those thrusts with our business unit leaders, because every business, every subset, every team has unique insight and value. And I think the mistake that some make, and I'm sure we've made it, is being too prescriptive as to exactly what you want. We try to identify our true north, trust the team to invoke the strategies that they can achieve within the day-to-day world in which they operate.
Oh, hold on. I want to capture this because this is so important. And it's such a big mistake so many of us have made. And I say us because I'm laughing because I have made this mistake. It's like, oh my goodness. And the pain that goes with this mistake. So what you're saying is you had these 3-year objectives that you were sort of looking at as a business, and we call them thrust in the scaling up system. So they're 3-year thrust, the things that we really want to bring into our company. And when you were doing them, the thought was, oh, we can't just do 3, we need to do 5. And when we decided to do 5, we didn't sit back and think about, hey, what are the resources we need to get these 5 things done? How much time is it going to take? All these other questions that we need to ask ourselves, because we still have a job to do, and that's called taking care of our customers on a day-to-day basis. It's a simple, novel concept of most business owners, right? And so you guys got away from that a little bit, and you started or what happened? Share, keep on going.
Yeah,
I'm sure the story's going to get good.
Right. So every year we started the journey 5 years ago, and it sounds easy, but it isn't. You got to stick with it. Every year you iterate, you cascade the thought process down, and you try to get everybody to come along with you. And people are curious, and people have different ideas, and people, like anything new, will either have a little bit of resistance or a little bit of I wonder how long this is going to last. And then year 2, then year 3, then year 4, oh, it is going to last. I see the thrusts. I see my role and my flexibility in them. And then the key is to keep it alive. So as you cascade down to the next level, it's now that we know our BHAG tenures, now that we know our 3-year thrusts, what are our 1-year annual priorities?
Yeah.
And we declare those usually in October, November, and allow our management team to rumble with them, fine tune them, and then build their business plan for the year.
Okay. And you didn't do that at first, did you?
We did not. We made a huge mistake. We felt that the executive team needed to own them. And then we dole out some cards to people and say, okay, we think that's going to work. Our big aha is people closer to the action have better instincts and insights to what needs to happen than we ever will. So our job is to point the organization in the general direction to set ourselves up for success, and then let go of the details.
Okay.
And that sounds so easy, but it's not. Letting go is not as easy as it sounds. You've seen this, David.
Oh yeah, most definitely. We see it all the time. I just like this issue. I'm just so glad you're on the show, because I haven't had this conversation with anybody yet, and you're the first one to really bring this up as a problem that was really a decision that was really maybe even hurt the company a little bit for a while. Because what ends up happening a lot of times when we're doing this is that we're taking and we're passing the tablets down to the people, right? And we think we have all of our best ideas. And then the people are looking at these ideas and going, don't these people know we have a day job? So, so they're sort of laughing at it, and then we don't get what we want as leaders, and then we start to blame other people for us not realizing what we wanted to accomplish when it's really our fault, probably, that it wasn't accomplished. And that's all, not always fun to deal with when you have that realization. Is that fair?
Yeah, yeah, it is. I mean, everybody goes into everything they do with the best of intentions. And then the mistakes that you make are painful and hurtful because you came at something in the spirit of help, only to find out that it hurt.
Yeah.
And so you've got to have the wherewithal to say it's okay.
Yeah.
If we're not making mistakes, we're not learning. And ask for appropriate grace when grace is given. And then you move on and you try it again, you make some modifications, and you go through the loop again. And what you'll find is every single iteration is just a little bit better. The challenge is don't give up on it.
Yeah. Hey, Brad, I think I'm late on my break right now, so I'm going to take a little bit of a break. And sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you. And so we're going to take a break, and we'll come right back in just a few moments. This is the Strategy Sherpa Show.
Welcome back to the Strategy Sherpa Show with David Chavez. Have a question for David or his guests? Join us on the show at 866-472-5790. That's 866-472-5790. Now, back to the show.
Brad, I have to say, I'm one lucky guy. I work with a great bunch of people at Voice America Business, the business radio show. And I'll tell you, thank goodness they're so full of grace, because I went way over on the last segment. And, they didn't get after me too much about the break. So let's get back into this, because I wanted you to talk a little bit about this. So the thrust ended up being a little bit too much for everybody to consume. So after the first year, we probably didn't make the progress we thought we were going to make. And what did we do then? What did we do?
Yeah. That's
so
a great.
What happened? I mean, share what happened with the people, the leaders, everything else.
Yeah. So in a nutshell, the criticism of our leadership team would be as follows. We locked ourselves in a room multiple days and came out with what we thought was absolutely the right thing for everybody in the organization to rally around. And it's kind of like introducing your odd friend to a new group of people. You've known them your whole life, so you don't know they're odd. You like them for who they are. But when you introduce them to a bunch of strangers, they're all looking at each other going, boy, that guy's or gal's kind of odd. When we delivered it, it just landed like a lead balloon. It's like, wait, I don't understand. What are we doing? We're running a business. I get this. It's that. Give me context. Bring me into the discussion. Help me understand why we think 1 + 1 is going to equal 2. And so we took a big pause, and we use a term here that we stole from somebody else, and that is, what would great look like? And what we learned in a hurry is what great would look like is you guys quit meeting in rooms with 5 people. Let's expand. Let's have meetings with 20 people. And let's do this together. And as we heard that, it was just like, how did we miss this? And so we got much more intentional during our training sessions to train together. And it didn't happen overnight. People had to hit us in the forehead with a frying pan numerous times before we really understood and were able to change our cadence and then change our involvement to make sure that we were going together. Even though that slowed us down a little, we're getting to a better spot.
Yeah. So you said so much in just such a short period of time. And I like how you gave the odd friend analogy. And I would be like Moses coming down from the mountain, giving the tablets to everyone to follow, right? And then you even worked Led Zeppelin in there too, with the lead balloon. I like that, as an old Led Zeppelin fan myself, getting that in there. But it was, so it went over like a lead balloon inside of the company. So basically, you guys were really excited about what you were doing, really excited about your thoughts and how you approached them, and really thought you were collaborative, but found out you weren't. And so your people sort of slammed the door on you with, hey, you think this is going to happen? You guys found out that without their help, nothing's really happening. And so for the first few times that you tried to do these pass down things that didn't work so well, and what did you end up learning?
Yeah, there's the coin an old phrase: if you want to go far, go together.
Yeah.
You want to go fast, go alone.
Well, and then you're community driven and employee and community driven, and then that was not the messaging you were sending.
It was, and it was a new level of thinking, right? We went from annual strategies to 3-year thinking. Mm-hmm. And that is that's different. So what I would say is, if you're gonna interject change to any company, successful company, growing company, new company, a recovering company, that it takes time. And the executive team has about 10% of the answers. Get the problems, get the opportunities to the people that you trust, that you respect, that live in that pool all day long, and start from there. So that's our biggest aha. Our intentions were good. Our execution was poor.
Yeah. And it's really one of those things where you have to sit back and you have to ask yourself, like the employees, they really want to be involved, and us that are sitting up in the room all by ourselves with no input from the rest of the organization, we can believe a lot of our own bullshit. I mean, that's my language, not yours, but I'm just saying we can believe a lot of it. And then we start to pass the tablets down, and we find out that you want to see resistance to change. There's a lot of resistance to change. And what ended up happening is you guys got everybody involved. You became a lot more collaborative in the process. And I love that you said in October and November, we really get our priorities down so that we can get input from everyone. And that makes a huge difference. And then I know you're probably getting input on a regular basis now, because Rockefeller habit number 5 says employee feedback, what's going on. And so we're tracking that feedback, and we're getting some of that feedback back. And the feedback is coming from what I call the experts in the company, the people who are really touching the customer and really interacting with the customer, and they're enlightening you onto some of your imagination. Is that a fair way of saying it?
Yeah, it most certainly is. Yeah, the feedback log, as an executive team, we look at it every Monday. Yep. On a typical Monday, there's 3 to 5 nuggets. And so as we do our math just for the calendar year 23, I think we're at 260 nuggets of information that came from people on the front line, that some are recommendations, some are mistakes, some are the 800 numbers going to the wrong box when you hit a number, and it gives us some insight and the ability to respond. Now, we don't respond to every single one, David. We're looking for trends.
Right.
Anything that's customer facing mistake, we get on that one right away. The other ones, it's a chance to just have a pulse on what the experts are doing that day to day interacting with our clients.
Yeah, and it's really important to know that all we have to do is, we don't have to take every piece of feedback, but we do have to let the employee know that we're not doing anything with their feedback, just so they'll keep on giving it to us. And I know you guys know that and you practice that. But Brad, I just wanted to thank you for coming on the show today. I think you did a really good job of really explaining something that's very complex for most companies. And a lot of times we lose that insight of how much the employees really know about the company. And oftentimes, as you get more and more employees, it's absolutely critical to get more and more involved, because we get further and further away from the customer, right? I know that you probably still have customers, but very few that you actually call on now, comparative to 9 years ago when you started with the company. And that distance has created a lack of understanding of truly what's going on a day-to-day basis. And there's nothing the matter with that. It's just the way what happens as you're evolving and rising in the company. But we have to go to those people and find out what's really going on, so we make better decisions. Is that a fair way of saying?
Yeah, that's a very fair recap. I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah. Well, Brad, we want to thank you for coming on the Strategy Sherpa Show and sharing with us that very heartfelt explanation of what happened. And we look forward to working with the partner group in the future. And we thank you for your time today.
Yeah, appreciate it. Enjoyed our time together, David. Thanks.
All right. Thank you. Well, this is the Strategy Sherpa Show. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back in just a few moments.
Welcome back to the Strategy Sherpa Show with David Chavez. Have a question for David or his guests? Join us on the show at 866-472-5790. That's 866-472-5790. Now, back to the show.
All right, everybody, just summarizing the show. Whoa, what Brad was such a special guest. I mean, he really went through some great information with us. You know, it was funny when he started talking to me about his issue. I was sitting there going, is this a real issue, or is this just like something in disguise? But then I recall, because I was working with him the first few years, and which I do with a lot of larger of our clients. And over the first few years, when we are trying to pass the information down and share the information, the executive team went through a lot of thought around this, because they kept on setting the goals, and they kept on not getting realized. And after several quarters of not hitting the priorities, from missing the objectives they were trying to get, they really started to finally listen to the feedback. And they started getting some training for a lot of their middle leaders with Assured Strategy. And we started really help them get feedback into their system. And with that feedback, they realized that they could no longer pass the tablets down to everybody. They needed to get for the information to come from the bottom up. And then they could start to figure out what's the next objective, or what's the next thing, thrust, we call them, for the next 3 years. And that was just really interesting how he shared that with us. And I would share with you that a lot of people make the same mistake. They don't include the employees in the process of setting the priorities for the organization, and they don't think about the resources, the cash resources and the people resources. And I just wanted to throw this in there. On January 30th, I am doing a webinar, and it's going to be an hour-long webinar about how to get more cash into your company. And a lot of our employees think we make wheelbarrows of money, and we have a lot of money that's being lost inside of the organization just to inefficiency and the lack of being able to see where the money's being wasted. And I'm going to share with you how you can get a little more exposure and shine a little more light on those things, especially in with the economy that we've had over the last 6 to 9 months, and it's declined a little bit. And we think that's going to continue for another quarter or two. So cash becomes really important. And that's on January 30th. And I'll be doing it from 1 o'clock to 2 p.m. Central Time. And that's Central Time. So 2 Eastern Time, and all the way back at 11 a.m. Pacific Time. And I'll be spending an hour going through that. And so if you're interested, go ahead and get on our website. You can sign up for that now. And we do have the webinar on processes on December 14th with Preston Law. I have to say, he really is going to get into why we don't hold people accountable to processes, and about processes and how they're written, and how sometimes they actually cause more confusion than help. So if you're interested in that, but I wanted to spend a few moments talking about our Dallas workshop. Our Dallas workshop is a scaling up workshop, and we'll be going over an overview of scaling up and what you need to do to start to get scaling up into your company. So the workshop is a place where you can come and learn about the system. If you've read the Scaling Up book, that's always more impactful before you come to the seminar or the workshop, because we call it a workshop because we're actually going to do work in it. But we will take you through how to get started getting scaling up in your company, where you don't even need somebody like us to help you. However, if you're interested in having us help, we're always there to help. But what we want to make sure we let everybody know is that we are doing this workshop to help you get scaling up into your company. And so we will go into some practical applications. And if you bring your team, I think there's one person who's bringing 10 of their team. And because they're bringing such a large part of their team, we'll actually probably spend some time actually on their issues. And we will spend time on everyone's issues inside of the workshop if they're willing to share them. And how do you use the system to come over some of those things? So if you're looking for some feedback on some things that you've been trying that haven't been working, and you've been trying to get scaling up into your company and you want to do it yourself, this is a great way to learn that foundation of how to get scaling up into your company. And we will be going over the people section. How do I get the right people in the right seats doing the right things right? The strategy, how do I really think about strategy? And there's many different types of strategy. There's visionary strategy, there's turnaround strategy, there's an agile strategy. Which one of those should I be using? Some systems out there is a one size fit all. I know there's one out there for the vision strategy, and all business owners think that that's the best one, when it's not a great strategy for probably about 80% of the startups or even the growth companies out there, and they're trying to use it inside of their company. And it may work for a little while because it starts to produce a little bit of results, but over time it starts to wear out. And that's because they're not focused on the right type of strategy for their company. So we'll talk a little bit about those things too. So it is on December the 6th, 8 to 5. We have, I think, 2 to 4 seats available still. I'm not sure. I was told 2 right before I got on this show. And so we may be able to squeeze in a couple extra if we have those requests, but that's probably it after that. On the 30th of January, mark your calendar. That's when I'm going to be doing the cash webinar. And then on February 6th, we will have an efficiency webinar on operational effectiveness by Ted Servata, our other strategy coach. There's 3 of us strategy coaches in the firm right now: Ted Servata, Warren Sager, and myself, David Chavez. So we're going to be doing that. And then we're doing another live workshop in Phoenix. We're going to make it easier for you to find the right people and get what you want out of those people. And that's going to be by Lisa Jane Vargas out of Phoenix. And she's going to be doing that live in Phoenix. So if you can join us, we would love to have you at some of these events. Strategy Sherpa Show is about issues inside of your business that were caused by a poor decision, and then how we overcame that poor decision, and we really maximized and benefited from it to leverage us into the future. I think Brad today gave us a great example of that. We have to think about the resources of people and the resources of cash. How much are we willing to allocate to the objectives that we're trying to get accomplished? I know that when I started doing this in my own company, it really slowed a lot of things down, but it also made a lot of things happen fast. And what I mean by that is we didn't do as much, but the things we did had a larger impact on the organization on a whole. And if you want to have that larger impact, I would strongly suggest using the Scaling Up system. It is the best system out there. And we will be in Dallas on December the 6th from 8 to 5. Join Warren Sager and I, two Scaling Up certified coaches. Join us in our teaching of the workshop of the Scaling Up principles in Dallas on the 6th of December. assuredstrategy.com/events, and we'll talk to you later. Thank you for joining us on the Strategy Sherpa Show, and we will look forward to seeing you or having you at another show.